Obsessed podcast. We'll be sitting down with a fresh guest each week. Someone who shares the same kayak fishing passion that runs through our veins. We're talking kayak anglers, kayak companies, lure experts. Heck, anyone who's got a story to tell about landing the big ones from a kayak. We're setting our sights on becoming the #1 kayak fishing podcast in the world. You'll get a chuckle, a grin, and hey, maybe even a belly laugh. Because we believe in the power of humor. But above all, we're here to educate and inspire. So, whether you're a seasoned kayak angler or just dipping your toes into this exhilarating world, join us on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast. It's time to reel in adventure, camaraderie, and the joy of the catch. Here's your host, Darren Windle.
What's up, you fishing freaks? Welcome to episode number 118 of the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast, your ultimate source for all things kayak fishing. And special thanks to our show sponsor, Dark Horse Tackle. Seth, got a new box in the mail. Rolled in yesterday. Got it in. They sent it like just in time. I run out of baits to do the lure of the week, and it shows up like 48 hours before the podcast, right when I need it. And I was excited because it opened this bad boy up. I pulled out something that looked a little familiar. This guy right there. You hear me talking about this before? From Black Label Balsa?
No, but I know Black Label. I don't know him personally, but I think he has a pretty famous owner, right?
Yeah, Cliff.
He's
Ace 2013 Bassmaster Classic champion, owner, designer, builder of Black Label Balsa. And this little guy is what I fished. I did a real long 11-mile float with Cincy Fish Dudes. And I had one of these, and I caught my personal best brown trout. And it was also slaying smallies. So this was the one. This color is Ladies Man, and this is called the Peanut. And I'm going river fishing on Thursday. You know what? I might just hook that up. Might hook it up. How you been, brother?
I'm doing well. Doing well. I get to finally fish an event coming up here soon. So I have my first practice this Sunday, which will be the first event since Toledo Bend, where I fished like a week straight. So I had some time off, time to relax a little bit, spend time with the family, get some things done around the house, and about to start my 2026 season here in 2 weeks.
And that's when my season comes to an end.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot different.
Freaking Ohio. Ice is coming here about mid-November or late November, but I'll be traveling down the KBF Nationals. We'll be down there second week of November. I'm just looking forward to like fishing for 6 days straight. It's gonna be
Gunnersville, right?
Gunnersville.
Yeah, that's
Gunnersville. I've had.
You were there last year. That's where we met. We didn't meet at the championship, but we met on Gunnersville.
That we did. You put me on a new spot I didn't know about. Well, folks, I'm excited because about 3 times a year or so, I have Mr. Alex Rudd on, and we always have a good time. And so I'm going to bring him out of the green room. We're going to talk about how to hammer bass in October. Right, Alex?
It's going to be great.
It's going to be good. It's going to be a good one. Seth, were you on the last time I had Rudd on or no?
I don't remember. I don't know. It's been a minute.
Remember? You're so you're forgettable.
I've seen him all over the place. I feel like
memorable.
I've seen his videos.
I am forgettable.
It's not like that. I just see you all the time. That's why. I just like.
Oh yeah, nice.
I like that. I like to hear that. I see you all the time. That's good. My plan is working perfectly then. Yeah, no, I don't think he was. We talked about Mexico last time I was here, didn't we?
That was early in the season. Yeah, we talked about Mexico, and before that, you're my first podcast of the year. We were supposed to have a cigar last year, but it's too cold or whatever where you were. So maybe we'll have to kick off 2026 with a nice cigar.
I'm down.
I actually had someone send me a box of cigars, and when I got them, I looked up the price of the box. It was $500,000.
Whoa,
20 cigars.
Those are some good cigars.
They are so good. I get like usually like last an hour and like 2 hours later, it's like, why isn't this thing gone? It's like it's wrapped perfectly.
Yes.
It's just so delicious. My gosh.
Oh, I see you on the kayak with a cigar sticking out of your mouth. Just
not the nice ones. These are special occasion. When
I saw that clip the other day, I was like, okay, so Wendell's like balling now. Like, I like that.
Here we are. YouTube life, man. I'm just all this expendable. So, what happens is I have a cigar once, and then I clip it 7 times sideways, and so it looks like I'm having 7 cigars. It's actually just one.
Yeah,
that's kind of how that works. Oh my
gosh. Good.
So, Rudd, what have you been up to? I know I pulled you away from your big metal bar and you're doing your fishing tips video, which, by the way, congrats on the success of your 2nd channel. Seems like that thing is taking off.
Yeah, we're at 13,000 subscribers, just passed over it. So it's really, really cool. It's a fun channel. I love it because, I mean, obviously I was an educator in my other life before we started YouTube full time. And so I still got like that itch to teach. And so it's just a way for me to sit down and still like structure out lesson plans and teach people about bass fishing. You know what I mean? But yeah, we're out there making some bass fishing tips. Going to go out there and make some more after we get done with this podcast and get a few hammered out and get them ready for the rest of the month here. And then today I went and fished. And honestly struggled all day long. It was really, really tough. And I don't know if you guys ever like fish off instinct, but I rely a lot on my instincts when it comes to bass fishing because they almost never lead me wrong. And I had like this itch all day, like go get on a bluff with a glide bait, go get on a bluff with a glide bait. And it comes from, I mean, past experiences, but it's also just one of those things like I got to rely on my gut sometimes. And like within 10 casts, I had caught one and then I had probably 25 more follow it out from the bank. And that was on like a 100-yard stretch of bluff.
Is that the bluff, the same place where we fished? Well, is it that bluff that we're talking about?
No, different lake, but similar structure. I mean, it's that same sort of just straight up and down kind of cover. And I was like, okay, I kind of ran out of time and I was like, all right, I got to come back and try this again tomorrow. And so we're going to send it hard tomorrow, lock the glide bait in our hand all day long and see if I can do something special. Cause it's definitely one of those things like it's tough, but if I can get 25 bass on every single bluff to follow it, I know I can get 5 of those dummies to mess up. And if I get 5 of them to mess up, we're going to have us a bag on our hands. And that makes me happy. And so, yeah.
What glide bait you slinging?
Dude, the new Berkeley chop block. It is.
Because Berkeley came out with a bunch of new lures.
Yeah. No, we did
that too.
we did our whole release this past week. It was, this past month. I mean, we got some really cool stuff. Obviously the kind of big first reveal was the Flux Gill, which is Berkeley's take on a gill style bait. You know, you've seen like the Bellows gill and the Depths bull shooter. You know, they're shaped like bluegills. And so what's really crazy is this bait, and it's funny because like every company's like it's 5 years in the making, but legitimately like 4 or 5 years ago, I remember Kyle, the soft bait designer, showing me the hex design for what we use on like the cull shads and the power stingers, but he had made it into this flux gill shape and he just sat on it and sat on it and sat on it. And then finally they were like, let's make that bait. Let's make what actually the hex design came from, the hexagonal design came from, which was that flux gill. And so they made it into, there you go. They made it into the gill style bait that we see with the max scent and all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really cool bait. I've been flipping and pitching it quite a bit. Okay. One of the coolest things I've been doing with it is running it on the back of a chatterbait or a bladed jig. But rigging that thing flat side down. And so with like the shad profile facing down, it makes it actually ride a little bit higher in the column. So like when I'm floating rivers and stuff and I need that bait to stay higher in the column, dude, that thing is killer for that. And they have been absolutely smoking it. But really love that thing. So that's like was our first big reveal. Then we came out with all the new buzz baits. So we've got the new riveter buzz bait. We got a head knocker version and then just a toad toter version. Both of them are absolutely phenomenal. I love a good buzz bait, and they made just a damn good buzz bait. I mean, it's like one of those deals. Like it was like the spinner baits. What was the purpose of making a spinner bait when there's 10,000 other spinner baits on the market? Just make It's called the riveter. The riveter. But like, and so the same thing with the buzz bait, it was just like make a really, really good buzz bait, and that's what they did. They could have put a good hook in it. They could put good wire in it. You know, just all kinds of just really good features and made an awesome buzz bait. The third one was the Screaming Chapo, and so that was that one's fun. I had this whole video idea planned out, and I never got around to making it because I had to make my chop block videos. But it was going to be me just standing there yelling like, "Hey, I want to show you guys this new Chapo." Yeah, and then have Bethany walk in and be like, "What are you screaming about?" I'm like, "The Chapo." But it's really cool. So it's essentially they added the same rivet that's on the riveter buzzbait to the tail of the Chapo, and then they put a little metal disc on the tail, and so that Chapo has the screaming or squealing sound that we traditionally want from a buzzbait.
This thing right here?
Yeah, that's it. And so that makes that squealing sound that the riveter buzzbait has, or a good buzzbait has. And so it's just a completely different sound profile on the Chapo or a plopping style bait. Really, really cool. And I'll be totally honest, I kind of had to relearn how to fish a Chapo because I wanted to take this thing and fish it in like the normal areas where I would fish a Chapo, like windblown banks, points, stuff like that. And it's just a lot more subtle. And so this thing has been really killer in like areas where I normally wouldn't throw a Chapo, stuff where you think like Chapo's not going to work here. It's just not, there's not enough like noise on top of the water, whether it be, breakup or chop or current or whatever it is. This thing excels in all of those areas where that isn't at, the calmer areas. And I really, really like it. So it's a cool bait. They slam it too, man. I've had some absolutely epic blowups on that thing. And then this week was the chop block. So it's our new soft glide bait.
Go find it.
Yeah.
You gotta speak slow because I gotta go find this thing. The chop block?
The chop block. Like you chop it on the block. So soft glide bait like the Nessie, but it's a completely different profile. Plus, we added probably one of the coolest hook harnesses I've ever seen in a glide bait. And I'll be honest, I don't like to pick favorites, but this is definitely my favorite release. And it all has to do with that hook harness. So you can see the hook on the back there. And then you can see that it's attached to the front hook by a little piece of like rope. Yeah. So that hook in the back is a specially designed hook just for this bait. And there's a little bitty plastic piece in the back of that bait that has a magnet in it. And that holds that hook up against the back of that bait. Now, what's really cool about that is if you guys fish glide baits at all, or anybody in listening fishes glide baits, one of the most frustrating things is when they come up and they'll like nip the tail on the bait and just not get the glide because they just don't get a hook in their mouth. Well, where that hook is laying and how easily that hook detaches because that magnet holds onto it, I can't tell you how many fish have come up and just nipped the back of that glide bait. The one that I caught today literally nipped the tail and just grab that back hook, and that hook immediately swings away and detaches away from that bait, and that whole harness swings away. And dude, you get those fish hooked, and it's wicked. It's a chop style glide, so chopping it back and forth at really aggressive style action, which is probably my favorite type of glide bait. It's the one that I have the most confidence in, and it's wicked, man. There's a color called honey pot. That's probably my favorite color. Yeah,
it's fine. I mean, you and your honey, you got honey badger, honey pot. Just love it all.
I think it's keep going. Nope, that's crappie.
We're just gonna go through them all.
Yeah, there you go. That's the bluegillish one. That's
already out of stock. My gosh.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we're there. You go, honey pot. That's honey pot.
Right there.
Yeah, right there.
All right.
Yeah, that thing is wicked. Just a wicked little color. I mean, I absolutely love it. It's kind of that yellow is not as bright as in the picture. It's more of a muted yellow, and it's kind of. And it's got that kind of, you remember like old school Zara Spooks would get that like yellowed color when they would kind of sit out in the sun. That's that color. Yeah. And
they all get a tan.
Yeah.
It's yellow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's wicked, man. And then we got one more coming out next week, which is already out. I mean, you guys can go look at it. It is a new forward facing sonar rig. And so they've taken a forward facing sonar minnow, connected it with some fluorocarbon. And so you've got that's a great question. This is the one that I've not paid the most attention to because I'm as good with forward facing sonar as I am with like sewing, which is not at all. But it's essentially a 3-tier thing. But I want to experiment with it up in shallow water. I think it'd be really interesting. Put like a swim bait on the bottom, almost make like a mini A rig, but it's not an A rig. Like it's a completely different thing. So I don't know.
I don't see it on their website right now. Probably because they haven't launched it.
Maybe, yeah. I've been seeing it show up. It's somewhere. That's the thing is like normally when we try to keep baits really secret, we can do a really good job of keeping them pretty secret for a little while, and then they all start coming out. And a lot of these started dropping before we wanted them to. But yeah, we've had some pretty. Right here it is. It's the triple minnow. It's on Tackle Warehouse, but it's gonna be cool, man. We got some cool stuff out. People need to go pick it up. I would definitely suggest picking up a chop block for absolutely certain. Some flux skills. Go give them a test and send me a message. Tell me how you like them, because I think you guys are gonna love them, because I know I do. I go out. I spend a lot of. It's funny because people are like, "You Berkeley shill, you just talk about it because they pay you," and it's like, no, I spend 40 hours a week on the water too. Like, this stuff catches fish. If I wouldn't throw it. Like, I couldn't make a living if I didn't catch fish on it. And yeah, chop block is. That's the triple minnow rig.
I found it, folks. I found it. The triple minnow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very interesting.
I'm so interesting.
Yeah.
I use Berkeley.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Every single time I'm out, I throw some Berkeley Stunners.
There you go, bro.
Oh,
Such
yeah.
a bait, man.
Seth, I stole some of your Berkeley Stunners. I think the one I have right now is the perch one I stole. And since you have 50 of them in a box, you didn't even know it was gone.
There's
yeah, look at that.
stuff in here.
It's like $500 worth of Berkeley Stunners right there.
I just put new hooks
That's
on
good.
a lot of them. Most of these are Berkeley Stunners in there.
Awesome, dude. Good stuff.
Yeah,
man.
the catfish, they tear up the hooks pretty good.
Dude, the stun is really. I love a sinking jerk bait.
And I put a little bit heavier hook on to make it sink just a little bit more.
Any
The
dots on it?
rise, that's a great point, because the rise in a jerk bait seems to really turn off the fish.
Yep.
Like when you watch them react to other jerk baits that'll lift, they're like, nah, no, thank you.
Yep.
But if it sinks, and the other thing that's nice part about a sinking jerk bait is you can throw it out. And even if you're not going to be able to get to the depth normally, you can throw it out past them and kind of watch it fall. And then you can fish, 17 feet on the jerk bait if you want to, because it's sinking, even though you just got to be more patient. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely that'd be an underrated thing. I don't think people really talk about is sinking jerk bait.
That's the one thing. Like, I'm not good with forward facing, but it's one thing I learned watching fish, especially with a jerk bait, because the fish I have caught on have been either vertical jigging deep in the winter or on a jerk bait. Like, I noticed any sort of sinking jerk bait, dude, like there's just something about it. They'll clock it where if it, like you said, any sort of rise up and they're like, I'm good. Like I'm not about that. It's really interesting.
Yep. I agree.
Well, we have some comments over here. I don't want to forget about those listening in live. So I'm going to rip through these real fast. Utopia Outdoorsman. My season's over.
Oh, no.
What? Yeah, Maine?
Do you live up in the North Pole? What's going on? My gosh, that's terrible. Low Life couldn't find bass yesterday in northeastern Ohio. You're in my neck of the woods, brother. He was texting me.
Darren caught them all. They're all
I caught them all, and I'm not sharing. They got some sore mouths. Bookman Basson, me neither. Couldn't find any yesterday. He's also in Ohio. What's the water temps in your area, Red, from Low Life?
Kind of depends where you're at. Today, I was more Main Lake. I was seeing like still 70 degrees. And then as I went up in the river, I started seeing like mid 60s. Dude, we've had a really warm fall. It's not cooled down. This morning was the coldest morning I felt, and it was like 45, but by 10 o'clock, it was 70 again. So it's been really interesting. I think it's one of the reasons that they're not biting super well is this. There's no reason for them to bite. Like, it's still warm, and so if a bass isn't like forced to do something, it's not going to do it. It's just going to hang out. And so I think that's one of the biggest reasons is temperatures have not dropped yet. Yeah.
Kind of wild. I've moved over to the rivers and been picking them up. It's been a blast. Got my new Bonafide RVR. Been rigging that out. Just put the Torpedo Ultralight on it.
Nice.
Less than 48 hours ago.
Nice.
And so I feel like if I trim it right and get the weight distribution right and don't put a ton of weight on this thing, I'm going to try to hit 7. I think I can do it.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah. And when I load it down, it'll probably be 6.5 to 7. But I actually just want to hit 7. So 7 miles per hour on a kayak, I think most I've ever gone is like 4.
You got to pull your foot out of the water.
My bad.
I have that foot in the water that I always see making turns with.
That's because I was fishing on my buddy Sholey. I guess I was doing a little bit. It's starting to get really cold now. I went out last week. It was in the 30s in the morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. You have to start wearing waders to make your turns.
No. My gosh. That was crazy. Yeah, we didn't catch, like, getting up. We were like, oh, let's get up early. Let's get out in the water. And for the first 2 hours, nothing. Like until the sun hits that water, smallies are like lockjaw. Second that sun starts warming up and as the day continues going on in the rivers, my gosh, the bite picks up. Around noon, it becomes chop o'clock.
Yep.
And you break out the old chopos, and I feel like the fish just get bigger and bigger as the day goes on. As
That's
the sun comes
really
out.
weird in rivers how that works. I've noticed that like sun is your friend in the river,
Yeah.
like especially river smallmouth. I mean largemouth too, but like it's interesting, and I think a lot of it has to do. I know. So this is a very interesting observation that I've made, especially with river fish, especially like really clear water fish. So we've done some live bait fishing recently on this really unique spot. Actually, where my buddy Caleb and we kind of did it together, but it was his fish broke the state record spotted bass in Tennessee down there. And what's really crazy is you get there before daylight and you get all set up, you cast a bait out there, and dude, these fish just don't care that it's there. Like they at all. As soon as the sun hits the water, dude, it's like they come out of the shadows and like here
Unbelievable.
and it's like it's all visual, man. Like they are relying so much on their vision in that clear water that their other senses, that lateral line, that inner ear, their smell, they go to the back burner because if they can't see it, they're not going to want to try to kill it. It's very interesting, especially in clear water.
Yeah. And the rivers I'm fishing are super clear right now.
Yeah.
And the chopos, money. However, you have to throw it out there, land it where it's not landing on a leaf, and then as you're reeling it back, you're like moving your rod tip back and forth. You're weaving in between the leaves.
Yeah.
So that's a fun little game that I'm playing right now.
Yeah.
But man, they won't hit anything more than once I put that Chapo on or that Whopper Plopper 75 or 90.
Yeah.
My gosh, I can't put it down. They're hitting it such a fast rate. My buddy and I went out for a float. We caught the first float was 22 smallmouth, and the last time I went was 28. And I think if we start at like 10 o'clock, we could get the 50 between the two of us.
Yeah,
that's how top water. Boom, boom. He caught 19 was the biggest one. So a lot of fun up here, and I got a lot of videos coming out, scheduled out. I'm scheduled all through November already, and I got videos coming out like every other day. So I'm just an editing freaking machine because it's been raining in the last 48 hours. Let's talk October. How to hammer bass in October. Alex, what do you got for us? What's your favorite thing about October bass fishing? That one moment or bite pattern that screams fall to you?
I think for me, I mean, like it's going to be river fishing, current fishing, anywhere there's current. And I mean, like that's a broad stroke, right? Because like that could mean a little bitty river that's, a couple kayak lengths wide, or that could mean a giant river like a Tennessee river system. You know what I mean? This time of year, especially where I live in the Southeast and really across the country, you're going to start getting more rain. And so even your naturally flowing rivers, they're flowing out of groundwater, they're going to start to swell a little bit. We've had this kind of like late summer drought, early fall drought that we have. And as that water starts to kind of, run into these things, everything starts to swell a little bit. You start to get more current, you start to get more water movement. They start to open up dams around here, more man-made, current. And just that current bite is the best bite of the year. And that happens right now. You know what I mean?
Right now. Yeah.
I mean, because like I think so many people really underestimate how much current affects fish. Unless you're living on like, I don't know, like Lake Hartwell or, something like that, like a lake that's just, not a lake that has a lot of current. No matter where you're at, even on a Great Lake, when the wind blows and it creates current, it's going to position bait fish, it's going to position bass, and then ultimately concentrate a lot of those bass into certain areas, certain pools, certain eddies, certain whatever it is, and they just become a lot easier to get to bite when that water's moving. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's probably my favorite thing this time of year is the current gets kicking up. And when you kind of think about current fishing, right? It's all of my other favorite things to do. Like I can throw a bladed jig, I can throw a big swim bait, throw a glide bait, throw a spinner bait, throw the Chapo, that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that they want to eat. And a lot of it just has to do with water movement. They're a lot more active. There's a lot more dissolved oxygen. There's a lot more food. There's just a lot more going on. And the more that's going on, it seems the more aggressive a bass wants to get. And I like dumb bass that like to eat things that are moving. That's what makes Alex giggle. And so I like to giggle a lot.
It's crazy. When I was on the river last couple weeks, like you'll start, and of course there's like fast moving water and there's slow moving water. And when it's fast moving water, although it's the hardest to position and hardest to cast because you get one chance before you're 50 yards beyond that honey sweet spot with that lay down with the little eddy behind it or the seam. But after you get out of that moving water, if you get into slow water, that bite dies. Like when you have to start paddling because you're not moving fast enough, like the bite goes near to nil until that water starts picking up again, and boom, the bite picks right back up. And that's what makes it so much freaking fun.
Yeah,
no, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say bass aren't dumb. Like they know where they need to sit to have food brought to their face.
They're like, dumb. They're just hungry. And they're good at it.
Yeah. Those bait fish get pushed into those coves and pockets and neck downs in different areas. That's the pattern I ran on Toledo for 5th place, was really just the downwind side, like areas that were pushed by the wind. Bait fish was just stacked in there, and there's just single bass just sitting in bait balls, along with drum. I did not know that drum, for one, swim in schools and sit and chase bait. And I'm like, dude, this is a solid bass. It's sitting right in the bait ball, cast in, and it smashes the jerk bait, absolutely smashes it. Yeah. And it ends up being like a 24-inch drum. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, that was supposed to be a giant bass, not not a drum.
I can't for 5 seconds.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many freaking 25-pound drum I've caught below a dam. Like you throwing like a 6-inch swim bait on a 3/4 ounce head, and I mean, I'm talking train wreck happens, and you think this is it. I have got the biggest smallmouth that I've ever caught in my life. Nope, it's a 25-pound drum that dogs you for a 1/4 of a mile before you can get it in the boat. But no, yeah, I mean, it's what's crazy too is one factor a lot of people don't think about. I was talking to a biologist buddy of mine about this. They were doing some water testing the other day, and there are like several phytoplankton blooms that only happen in the fall. And it's one of the reasons that bait fish come up shallow. Well, I mean, one of the main reasons bait fish come up shallow is as water temperatures start to drop, they want to come up there because there's more usable water for them. And that's one big factor. But another factor is the fact that there are these specific phytoplankton blooms that happen in the fall that they go and they eat the zooplankton that are feeding on that phytoplankton. And so like that whole food web, that whole food cycle starts to kind of develop. And I think that that's really interesting as well. It's like one of those factors that a lot of people don't think about. Like when you think about like what you were talking about, wind blowing into those pockets. And a lot of the times what happens is, the bait fish get pushed in there, but ultimately they're probably just following a phytoplankton, a zooplankton, they
can't swim against the wind.
Yeah,
they're just getting pushed in there. So
and so they swim in there and they just start to gather up, and then the bass, again, not being dumb creatures, they're like, well, they've gone into the killing fields. Let's go to murdering, and they just go in there and start hammering them. You know what I mean? And so it's really interesting. I think there's so many factors in the fall, and especially like October. I didn't know this until I talked to my biologist buddy. But October is actually the peak of a lot of those phytoplankton blooms. Like the first few weeks of October are the peak of those blooms, and that's really when you're going to see the most of those bait fish up there and really taking advantage of that. It's funny because you don't think about a bait fish being a predator, but it is a predator just on a micro scale. You know what I mean?
I like it. Now, October can be one of the trickiest months, right? We're hearing in the comment section, hey, went out yesterday, didn't do well. I'm getting frustrated. I'm supposed to have this instinctual fall feed going on. So from what your understanding is, Alex, what is biologically happening with bass this time of year? And kind of walk us from like where you are in your temperature from like, okay, 65 north, we kind of 55 to 65. I think another transition zone is 50 to 55. And then for the crazies out there, you got sub 50-degree fishing. So through your understanding, what is happening in the biology of bass? What are they doing? How are they feeding? And how are you going to catch them like right now and as we start getting colder?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think the first thing I want to do is kind of back up a little bit and kind of think about like, I think of one big mistake. It's funny. I literally just made a video about this for Bass Fishing Tips. I think one big mistake that anglers make when it comes to fall fishing is relying on the air temperature and not the water temperature. I walked out my door this morning. It was 42 degrees outside. I had on a hoodie, sweatpants, like go out there, run down the lake. By the time we get to our first spot, I'm cold. And I stand up, and in your human mind, you're going, oh man, like here we go, fall fishing. Like, water temperature's cold. Like these bastards gonna be doing all the cold water stuff. Drop the trolling motor in the water, or drop your transducer in the water, even a thermometer off the side of the kayak or the boat if you not got, the graphs and all that stuff, and you go, water's 68 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Those bass are in 68-degree water. They don't know the air temperature is 48 degrees. They don't care. Like, rely on the water temperature. I think that's the most important thing, is make sure you're not letting the sense of being a human like play into the lure choices and what you're doing when it comes to fall fishing. I think that's like the biggest mistake people make, is they go, my bass aren't biting. Shouldn't they be doing XYZ because it is the fall? No, they're going to do whatever the water temperature dictates them to do. Because when you think about the biology of a bass, so much of their life is driven by water temperature. How do they determine when they're going to spawn? Mostly by water temperature. There's a few outside factors, moon phases maybe, length of days, absolutely, but ultimately longer lengths of days mean warmer water temperatures, and obviously the warmer water temperatures are what ultimately make bass want to spawn. Same thing with food. There's different food that comes up in spawns and is more active in certain water temperatures. That's why the bass follow those things. It's all about that water temperature. And so make sure you're watching the water temperature first before anything else. Now, biology of a bass, right? I think another important thing to remember is, I hate the term, and I've fallen to saying it myself without giving it good context, I guess is the best word to use. But like we're in that fall transition. Bass are migrating. Bass don't. Okay, there are.
I agree with where you're going with this. I just talked to Darren about this a few minutes ago.
So, I think there is a population of bass, and I don't think it's very big, that do move great distances. I've seen smallmouth on the Great Lakes swim 25 miles. Like, they just up, go, and take off swimming. It's a unique example to the Great Lakes. But, when you think about, largemouth, smallmouth in reservoirs, even in creeks, even in rivers, and I've got a real-life example to share with you guys here in just a second. So remind me if I don't get around to it. I really think that you've got more residential fish that live within 200 or 300 square feet their whole entire life. They do their whole life cycle there. Like, they spawn there, they live there, they eat there, and then eventually they die there. Unless they get plucked up and put in a live well and driven down the lake, that bass just stays there, lives there, and that's where it does its whole entire life. And I think there's bass that do that in 25 foot of water. I think there's bass that do that in 10 foot of water. I think there's bass that do that in a foot of water. I think there's bass that do that in rivers, creeks, streams, everything. And so, when we really think about this idea of the fall migration, they're not really migrating more than they're just using the area in which they live in a vastly different way. And so, to put this in human terms, we think about this. When it's 110 degrees outside, you're not out in your yard playing catch with your son because it's hot and you don't want to be outside. So what do? You utilize your house more. You're inside. You're in the air conditioning. You're staying inside. Now, when the fall rolls around and it gets cool outside and you can go outside, and then you're outside in your yard and you're burning a bonfire and you're tossing the ball around, you're playing with the dog, you're taking a walk, you're utilizing a different part of your home range in a different way because there's been a transition from one set of stimulus to another. I think bass are the exact same way. And so I think you got a bass that lives on a bank, and he lives his entire life on that bank. And when the fall rolls around, because there's a phytoplankton bloom 25 yards down the bank and the wind's blowing that phytoplankton bloom into an eddy point or a cove or a creek or whatever it is, and that's where the bait fish are going, the bass leaves the dock or the tree that it's lived its whole summer on, and it swims down there to take advantage of the fact that those shad are there. And then when those shad start to disappear, he goes back over to his tree and he sits there and he waits for crawdads and other things to come swimming by again. And so I think that's one thing to understand is bass are probably going to be in the same areas that you've been catching them all year long. with some extreme outlying examples. Like I got some buddies that live in California, and they will tell you fall rolls around, balls of bait fish show up in the middle of the lake, and those fish get very like migratory and transitory and like very pelagic, and they will chase those bait around and they focus on those bait. And then when it cools down enough that those bait, do whatever they do, those bass follow them back there. But for the most part, general rule of thumb is going to be we are probably fishing for way more residential fish than you ever realize that we're fishing for. And so the biology of the bass is he's not going to realistically travel miles upon miles to find food. He's going to travel maybe a few hundred yards at most to go and find food. And that's kind of what you need to keep in mind. Like if you catch fish in an area, just expand the area a little bit and see if you can find those fish. I'll give you 2 real life examples. First one was tournament a couple years ago. It was in September. It was our like classic for our kayak series, which we normally have it in September. And dude, I was on fish. Like I was on them. Like I had them dialed as dialed could get. I knew exactly where I needed to throw, exactly what I needed to throw. I was going to go catch these fish. Get there tournament morning, skip my wacky rig up on the bank, nothing. Skip my wacky rig up on the bank, nothing. I'm like, oh crap. Throw my frog up on the bank, nothing. I'm like, oh man, I suck so bad. Like I was like, this is terrible. Like I suck at bass fishing. And what I didn't or failed to notice is the night before we had a west wind that it blew all night long. And that westerly wind had blown a lot of phytoplankton and different things probably into an area that was about 30 yards down the bank. And there was like a little bend back in the bank. And where that wind was blowing in there, it created a little bit of an eddy. And there was a ton of bait fish in there. And all those bait fish and bass that I've been around literally over a 24-hour period had just gone from being under this one particular tree to 25 yards down the bank under another particular tree because all they did was follow the bait. Mm-hmm. Go down there, catch my limit, almost win the tournament. I think I come in second in that tournament.
Yeah.
Those bass were there. There was a fall transition. They did migrate, but they didn't migrate like 100 miles. They literally migrated 25 yards down the bank.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Shot them with a bow. That's how close it was. Like that.
This is interesting because when I'm teaching on the channel, when I say migration, I guess this is probably really good to identify moving forward in future videos. When I say migration, I'm thinking like you turn your head to the right and you turn your head to the left and you could see it. Like that's the migration route, not they migrated halfway across the lake and you got to hop in your kayak for, 3 miles. Yeah. So yeah, interesting. I love it.
And to back you up, Rudd, I will add as well. I think there's a population of fish that are just pelagic.
Oh, yeah.
And that's they don't really have a spot where they just move with the bait, and that's kind of what they do. But to back up what you were saying, and I'm glad you're on the same page with it as this, because there's a lot of people that believe that they need to go the whole way up certain creek channels and like this big thing's about to happen. And I watched this study in preparation for the Toledo Bend event because I was going to a big creek out there called Housen, which is like 6-7 miles long on Toledo. So it's massive, right? So it's very big, but there's a study on YouTube and I have it over here. The YouTuber's name is Ken Smith, but there's a telemetry study that was done with the Texas Parks and Wildlife biologist. His name's Todd Driscoll, and they used telemetry and they put this little transmitter, obviously everyone knows what it is, puts it in a bass, and the bass range from 3 to 8 pounds. And they did it in 30, 40 bass in this large creek. They did ones that were on bait fish. They did ones that were up shallow, did all this. And what they found was that those fish hardly moved. The biggest movement of those fish was in the spring, and they would all go shallow to spawn, and they would come right back out to whether it's a stump that they liked, a tree that they liked, and they would live like 80% of their life right within that general vicinity. And they would move a little bit, like they would have a trail that they'd kind of do on a daily basis when they'd go out there, but everything was right there. They weren't going in different creek channels. They weren't going up lake and making a left to the next bend or anything like that. They lived their entire life cycle, like right there in the general vicinity. And I forget the actual average distance that they were traveling, but you guys can check it out. It's Toledo Bend Lake and Lake Fork Bass Tracking Telemetry Study. Ken Smith is the YouTuber. It's really enlightening. Like it, and there's books on this too. I have a book upstairs about this where they track like these 10-pound bass, and they have a tracker in it, and it lives in a treetop. And at nighttime, it'll start making its loop like around this bay, and then by morning time, it'll be right back in that same tree.
Yeah,
it's just crazy that they don't. It just shows that they don't travel a whole lot and in a far distance, regardless of the time of year, with the exception of the spring when they go to
well, it's like deer. Like I got trail cameras on my piece of property, and I watch these deer, and dude, they are the most. Dude, this is a hat. I mean, like they do the same freaking things every single day. I mean, like I can call it. Pull up the camera at 9:30. There's those 4 does standing there doing their thing until the rut, and then it all goes to hell. And then once the rut's over, they go right back to their routine. Like, and it's the same with bass. Like the bass does the same thing, and then it all goes to hell when they spawn, and then they come back right to their routine. And it's just, it's really, so this is really crazy. So, like, again, another real life example, telemetry study. River that we fish. My buddy caught the same tagged fish 3 years in a row in the same exact spot. Same exact tagged fish.
That's crazy.
Was it a money fish?
Yeah, he got money for it every single time.
He's going there next week.
I had to go pay for the ship. I'll be right back. Wacky worm. Boom. Got it.
2 times, dude. And this is in a river, bro. Like, what's crazy is this is in a river that, like, they're pumping 30,000 CFS through. That's how, like, hardcore that bass was to be in its area. That's like its area. That's where it wanted to be. And like you would catch it, float down the river with it, take a picture with it, let it go. And I mean, sure enough, that dang on thing would swim right back up to the same little, it was like a 20 by 20 spot that this bass lived in. And he would catch it out of that little 20 by 20 spot. And it ate a chatterbait 3 years in a row.
I mean, how much money did they make on that thing?
I think it was $300. I think it was $100 every time he caught it. I mean, it was a bass. I have pictures of it. I'd have to pull it up. My dad caught a bass one time 6 weeks in a row. 6 weekends in a row, same exact.
Wow.
We knew it was it because it had a black spot on its anal fin.
Right.
He caught it with a worm on the same exact cast in the same exact spot 6 weeks in a row. And that fish, we would catch it. You'd bring it 30, 40 feet to the boat. You'd put it back, and he'd swim right back to the same exact spot and just sit down and wait for whatever was going to come by its face again. And so, yeah, it's really, I mean, I think that that's really interesting. I think that, like, understanding that can help us to then tackle this whole water temperature thing, right? What does water temperature make bass do? Colder water, I guess one thing to understand too is, like, people think colder water makes bass bite better. Colder water has more dissolved oxygen, which I think ultimately just optimizes a bass's performance and makes them more aggressive, which makes them, in our mind, bite, quote unquote, better. I think they're just,
it's because they can recover better because
I
of
think they're
more
just
oxygen.
more willing to eat. Like, they're just more aggressive. Like, they're just, like, that's just, like, ultimately, like, the biology of a bass is the fact that colder, cooler water with more oxygen is going to make any fish more just optimized to live. And so I think that that's really interesting to say that, because I think a lot of people, another thing that I hear about fall fishing, and I'm getting to the water temperature thing. It's just a very hard question to answer without like punching a few of these other things in the face before we get there. Another thing that I hear people say is, like, the bass are feeding up for the fall. They're getting their fall feed on. They're fattening up for the winter. A bass can't do that. Bass doesn't have fat reserves. It's not like a brown bear or a black bear or even us, where, like, when we eat, we get fat that we can then use as energy later on. A bass has to constantly eat. And this is true in the fact that bass eat through ice. There's people who catch bass ice fishing. And it's because a bass, regardless of what it's doing, has to consume food in order to grow. And a bass's entire process in its life is to consume as much food as it possibly can, to grow as big as it possibly can, and to have as many babies as it possibly can and not die. And so, like, bass are constantly eating. It's just we have to figure out what they want to eat, or where they're eating at, or what the habit of them is to eat in any given set of water temperatures. And I've noticed like the colder water gets, the more we start to rely on more reactionary style baits. At least for me anyway. That's how I like to fish. And then the warmer the water gets, the more I have to rely on less reactionary style baits, more baits where I'm tricking them into eating something. And I think a lot of that has to do is because colder water, bass are again more dissolved oxygen, colder water, more optimized to do their thing to a point. I think when like ice gets on a lake, I think that you start going in the opposite direction again. I think it can get cold enough that a bass is like, all right, man, like I want to eat that crawdad if it gets close enough to me, but if it doesn't get close enough to me, we're just going to chill right here until spring rolls out. You know what I mean? And I think warm water is the same exact way. I think you get water, it's 98 degrees surface temperature, and you got a bass living in 4 foot of water. He's sitting there and he's thinking, I don't think they think, but it's like, if that bluegill gets close enough, I'll kill it. Otherwise, I ain't moving. Like it's like I gotta just preserve myself long enough until something switches. And I think that that's what we experience in the fall. It's what we experience in the winter. It's what we experience in the spring. We experience optimized conditions for a bass to do what it does best, which is eat stuff. And then the extremes, super dead of winter, super dead of summer, are those extremes where we deal with tough bass fishing. And then any transitional period, meaning anytime we're transitioning, high temperatures, low. I mean, like just today, it went from 41 to 81. Now it's back down to 41. That's a 40-degree temperature swing in one day. Surface temperature, like air temperature. But ultimately, that's going to affect the surface temperature. And then, like today, it went from bluebird skies to raining, back to bluebird skies, and then the wind was blowing 25 miles an hour. Like it's these big swooshes and like different conditions. And then water flow, water can be flowing one day. It can be clear one day and then muddy the next because we had a massive rainstorm. And these always happen in these transitions because when you're transitioning from one season to another, summer to winter, you're going to have giant, weather patterns and weather swings that take you from really hot weather to really cold weather. And so because of those things, it's what ultimately makes fall fishing tough, quote unquote, is that bass love stability. And we find stability in the more stable seasons, longer periods of like more stable conditions. Like if it's cold, it's cold. If it's hot, it's hot. If it's a warming trend, they like that. If it's a cooling trend, they like that. But they don't like this up, down, one extreme to the other, hour by hour change. Just like us, they go into this self-preservation mode, I'm pretty sure. I read some biology about that one time, a study about that. Like they're talking about we talk about like pressure swings affect bass, like barometric pressure. And what these scientists really discovered was that like the barometric pressure simply indicated to a bass that there was something that was about to change. Like there was about to be an extreme change. And the bass didn't rationalize the extreme change. It just knew based on instinctual life experience that barometric pressure shifts equaled extreme change. And that extreme change normally meant I need to sit down and preserve myself until things stabilize again, and then I'll feed when it's stable. And that's what makes fall fishing tough, is that any given day of the week and probably multiple times a week, we're going to have an extreme change. And then sometime when that stabilizes out, that 2 or 3 days after that front moves through, that's the day that you need to be out there. That's the day that you need to be fishing because it's going to be stable enough for a bass to instinctually go, okay, I think I'll try to kill bluegills again. You get what I hope that, I went on a very long dissertation there. I feel like
you did go into dissertation. You don't believe in a fall instinctual feed because bass have fat reserves.
Yeah, but they don't use them. No, they don't use them like a bear does.
But why in the fall do you always see their bellies so freaking big?
Because they're just,
you don't see that. You don't see that during the summer.
Yeah, it's because there's more food around them and they're more optimized, and the area in which they live is more optimized for that bait to live there. And they're just optimized to eat more. It's like they're presented with the opportunity. Thanksgiving for us, there's a bunch of food on the table. We take advantage. We eat a bunch of food. It's the same thing. In the fall, you'll have more areas, especially in shallower water, that are more optimized and more available to bluegills, baitfish, perch, crappie, whatever it is. And those bass simply use the advantage in the fact that that food is around them to feed. Because Okay, pond example. It's great bringing a pond here. Shannon Gorman could back me up on this one. You put bass in a pond, and they say there's 100 bluegill in there. That bass will eat all 100 of those bluegill if it can do it. And once those bluegill are gone, guess what that bass does? He sits there and he waits for more food to show up, because that's just what it is. It is a killing machine. Eating machine. That's all it does. You put 100 more bluegills in there, guess what? It's going to eat 100 more bluegills. And so because a bass is optimized to kill, and its entire existence is to kill and not be killed and to make babies, when an influx of a bunch of bait fish move up shallow because there's a phytoplankton bloom in the fall and those water temperatures are dropping and there's a more enriched oxygenated water, those bass are surrounded by a bunch of food and they go, okay, they've come to the slaughtering floor. Let's get to killing. And they just eat and eat and eat and eat. And then we end up catching these bass that all summer long have probably not been around food. They've not had the optimized, conditions for them to want to eat. They're now optimized. The conditions are settled. The conditions are, again, more optimized for them just to exist. And they eat and they feed. They feed. They're not feeding up. They're just feeding.
So you believe in a fall feed, but not for the reasons for storage of fat to last through a winter.
Absolutely not. Because there's no data that shows that a bass feeds up to preserve itself for something, because a bass eats all the time. Again, going back to my example of bass will eat under the ice. It's just their behavior and their habits may change, but regardless of that, they are eating still. It's just they may eat different things at different times at different speeds.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. Juicy. If you got some comments or questions for Rudd, go and throw those in the comment section. Believe it or not, we're pushing an hour. I feel like we just got started like 15 minutes ago.
I mean, dude, I'm way too much in this podcast.
We're taking the deep dive, how to hammer bass in October, but in order to hammer them, you got to understand them. And so really getting down to kind of what they're doing biologically. And I'm getting some comments over here, having a hard time fishing. I have other people commenting in, hey, I'm hammering down, having a really good time. So might just be that ebb and flow of those conditions working in or out of your favor. So right now, Alex, when it comes to baits, like what do you have hooked up? You shared a little bit about what you're throwing. As the season moves on, as the water temperature drops for you, how does your arsenal of lures change?
Yeah, I think that's a really cool topic. Right now, as we're kind of going in that trending down, right? We're starting to trend down. It's starting to cool down. I'm throwing a lot of big stuff. Like I like to throw big glide baits this time of year. Big choppos, even like my bladed jigs. I'll put a full size fluke on the back of it as my trailer. Coal shad, stuff like that. And a lot of that is just presenting bass that have seen 10,000 bait fish that big and bluegill that big, which is normally young of the year too. We have a lot of young of the year bait up. I think that's a really interesting topic to talk about, which we won't dive as deep into, but like people say like they're little glass minnows when realistically it's just young of the year threadfin that they're seeing, and they're just small. They're not grown into themselves yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, but anyway, I think when they've seen a ton of that, I've noticed for myself that when I present them with something bigger than average, they'll eat it, or they'll be way more interested in it. There's a lot more aggression towards it. And so I like throwing big stuff. Now, as we start to trend more and more into winter and we start to make that true transition from fall into winter, that's really where I'll start picking up a lot of reaction style baits, jerk baits, small body, medium diving crankbaits. And really my bread and butter is the small body, medium diving crankbait, the money badger. Everybody knows me for that bait.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of that is just simply reaction bite. The colder the water gets, the better the reaction bite gets. And the more that I feel like I can get a bass to react to something. I hate trying to trick a bass into eating anything. Dude, Seth, you'll know this because you're like forward-facing sonar and jerk baits. It can be really hard to trick a bass into eating something sometimes. And that's why a jerk bait is kind of like awesome, because it's the perfect mix between being able to like get them to look at something, but then also jerk it away from them really quick and like hit that switch of like, I got to kill that right now.
It gives you multiple opportunities to keep it in front of them. Everything else you have to pull away. That one you can kind of play with them a little bit.
Exactly.
Cat and mouse type deal.
Exactly. And so I hate trying to trick a bass, like dragging a Ned rig, whatever that is. I mean, yeah, you can get bass to bite and catch really big bass doing that. But for me and my fishing style, I'm like a crack out of praying mantis some days. I'm like out there just like, ee. And so like I like to fish crankbaits. I like to fish jerk baits. I like to fish things that get bass to react. And the cooler the water gets, especially in East Tennessee and in the Southeast, I've just noticed reactionary style baits, small crankbaits, jerk baits, those kinds of things are really my bread and butter for getting bass to bite. But right now, I'm just throwing giant stuff because, like today, I pulled up on that bluff. There's like literally 10,000 bait fish swimming around these bass, and they're all 2 to 3 inches long, little thread fins. I throw an 8-inch glide bait up on the bank and I twitch it twice and I have a 4-pounder just smoke it. And then end up having all those other followers. There's a reason for that. And it's because a lot of the times you present a bass with something that it's not seen in a while or something that it's unique, something that's, I guess, just like opposite to what it's used to. And it will ultimately react to that thing because they're opportunistic, to say the least. And so when they say big mill, they'll try to kill it.
Yeah, I like it. Got a question over here from Utopia Outdoorsman. What's your glide bait rod of choice?
Yeah, so right now I'm running it's a Savage Gear BattleTech rod. It's a 711 heavy, moderate fast. So it's actually designed for fishing like that 6 to 8 inch glide bait, like 1 to 2.5 ounces. But the moderate fast is wicked because it's got a little bit more bend, a little bit more parabolic bend. It helps you to drive those treble hooks in and keep those fish pinned when you're fighting them. And then I'm fishing a 200 size beast reel by Abu Garcia in 20 pounds straight fluorocarbon.
All right. I like it. Also, if you have not yet done so, we're pushing an hour here. Go ahead and hit that like button. We'll get this thing some extra yardage here. Steven Sturgeon's got a question. Sturgeon got a question for you. Do you rig some of your floating crankbaits to suspend?
Yeah, so that's
on a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about suspend dots, and it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons I love a Money Badger is because it suspends. It's a suspending crankbait. But yes, that was something we used to do before the Money Badger come along. Wiggle warts, bandits, rock crawlers, those types of deals. We used to play with suspend dots and all that stuff to get those crankbaits to suspend. And I think it's something really important late in the winter, like really, really cold water. I'll do a lot of like stop and go retrieves. If I hit a piece of cover, I'll just pause that crankbait, start it right back up again. And I think that pause, just hanging that bait in front of a fish's face like a jerk bait and then starting it right back up again, that can really get those fish to react and you can get that reactionary style bite that I was talking about. But yeah, I do that. Money Badger right out of the box is going to suspend, but other crankbaits over the years that I've played with, because I literally have, it's embarrassing to say this, I have 9 boxes of crankbaits out in the Beard Barn. There's a variety of tweaks that we've done to those things. Added feathered trebles, changed out split rings, tied braid split rings, added suspend dots, added floating foam on the back of them, painted them, put fingernail polish on them, dyed them with UV paint at one point because we thought that was a thing. We've done it all, and that's something we do.
We love to tinker. There's nothing like getting off work, going out to your garage or the place where you have all your lures and all your kayaks are on your boat and just turning some music on and just tinkering.
Oh,
man, that feeling, I do it all day Saturday. I do it all day Sunday. I do it after work. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's nothing
after work.
Cathartic
after work
is what it is.
Part of work. Work for me now doesn't never stop, but getting away from my computer and actually going do some hands-on.
You're just working. You're just working in a different way. I've come to learn that fishing full time means that rigging is an absolute must. And I can't tell you how many times I've walked out in the Beard Barn. I'm like, this is an absolute disaster. I need to like clean this and get this all organized and like retie this, patch this up, fix this. Because if you don't, it's just going to fall apart on you.
100%. Yeah. And I have like a little small area. I mean, at the 10-foot, I made my own workbench, but the amount of stuff that gets thrown on that in a matter of 10 minutes, like, holy crap, I got to have a clean working space. Like I have to have organization or my fishing world falls apart. Not good at all. All right. Got some other questions here. Got some comments coming in over here. What's up, mainstream fishing? What's up, fellas? What's up, fishing maniacs? What else we got here? All right. I think I had some questions. Oh, here's a good question. I had a question for you. Kind of moving away from baits and moving away from tactical and October fishing. It's starting to get really cold outside. So what are some let's talk like gear that usually don't get a lot of fanfare. What are some things that keep you warm and comfortable, right? In October conditions when those mornings start to be a little bit near freezing. You're in the 40s. I mean, you're not far away from frost, my friend. I had frost on my kayaks a couple mornings ago. I literally like hit my Yak Attack seat cover and like snow flopped off of it. Cause I was like, oh crap.
I just don't understand. What language are you guys speaking?
Yeah. It's called Caribbean of the Midwest language.
Go ahead.
Listen, I hate everybody's like, listen, you've never experienced a northern winter. I'm like, you've never experienced a southern winter. I can't tell you how many of my northern friends that come down here and they're like, I'm fine. It's whatever. They walk outside and it's 40 degrees and 100% humidity. And they're like, what is this? I'm like, welcome to the hellscape that is Tennessee in the middle of December. I was like, it's nothing like being wet and cold. And there's nothing you can do about being wet other than just being wet, you know? I think for me, it's like a good rain suit. Like having I wear my rain suit I just layer under my rain suit because again, I'm always wet in Tennessee. It's always humid here, no matter how cold it gets. Even in the dead of winter, it'll be 10 degrees out, and like we'll have a thin layer of ice on everything just because of the humidity. And so staying dry is a big thing for me. I think another thing, something I invested in this past year, waterproof gloves and waterproof socks. Because
go brand on us. Like what'd you get?
I just went to
your rain suit.
I went to Amazon and found like just waterproof socks and waterproof gloves. They're like a neoprene. I would have to go and look on the Amazon thing. It's like, Jingtong waterproof gloves. Chinese factory.
I've heard of like seal skins and stuff like that. They do the really nice.
Yeah. And they come up, I like them because they come up to like right here on me. They're like really long. So like if I'm messing with a fish or I like dip my hand in and grab a fish, or like if I drop something in the water and grab it, whatever it is, boat, bank, kayak, but especially the kayak. I love them because it keeps my hands dry. And then the socks, same company, they come up to like halfway up on my shins. And dude, they have saved my feet a couple of days because we've all made the dumb mistake of like stepping a little too deep in the water when you're getting into your kayak or whatever, or just like whatever it is. I mean, we've all done it. And man, like I've filled my boot completely full of water and my foot is completely dry. And then I usually wear a pair of like like merino wool socks under those waterproof socks. And dude, it's been a game changer the past couple of years of keeping my feet warm, especially in my kayak. In my boat, I think it's one thing because I'm up, I'm moving around, I'm standing, so my feet stay warm. But when you're sitting in that kayak, man, your feet get so cold. And I had to find a solution, and the waterproof socks with the merino wools underneath them were the deal. Rain suit wise, I am rocking still my AFCO rain suit because I worked with them for many, many years and everything happened. So cryptic. I mean, it's so what now?
So cryptic.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a whole thing. Like when you sell $250,000 in product a year, and then all of a sudden they decide YouTubers and social media is not the direction we're going. Anyway, that's why a lot of people laugh. You go watch any of my videos recently, I have a piece of duct tape over the AFCO logo that says "Not today, Satan." Yeah, I'm not scared of those people. Anyway, but yeah, I still rock it. I mean, it's a great product still. I can dog them all day long, and I'm still, cordial with all of them. But great product. But investing in a good rain suit, I think, is super important.
Yep.
Not only for rain, but for cold. And I know a lot of these rain suits, you look at them, you're thinking, good, googly moogly, $500, $600, $700. Save the money, make the investment. A good one that fits you well, that you can layer underneath, is a game changer for cold weather as well as pouring rain. Because if you're a tournament angler or if you're a real serious angler like I am, I mean, there are a lot of days that I go out there and I got to fish in pouring rain.
Yep.
And the number one key is staying dry. And if you can stay dry, you can stay warm. And that's the big deal with a rain suit for me. I think it's the most important part of my gear setup for staying warm.
Got a new rain suit this past year. It's the Frog Togs FTX. They're not cheap, right? You got the bibs that are $180. You get the rain jacket to $180. You're looking at all day at 400 out the door by the time you get it shipped and tax.
Yeah.
But man, I tell you what, I'm dry.
Oh
and I'm
yeah.
still fishing and I'm comfortable. And I tell you what, you don't have to buy them very often, right?
Oh yeah.
And so the good thing about a good rain suit, it's going to last you a decade if you take care of it and
Mhm.
you keep it nice and you keep it maintained. But yeah, 100%. You got some comments over here.
Let's go.
Oh wow, we got all kinds of them. All right, Steven Sturgeon says seal skins. That's what I just mentioned. Worked for me last year. I actually don't even have a pair of them. I need to get a pair of them.
Dude, they're wicked. Yeah, they're cool.
I love my striker gear jacket and bibs. Satan just came out with some gloves and rubber membrane that looks decent.
Bunch of
wool gloves, 3D yak wool gloves help a lot. A little trickier on trebles. They get soaked and stay warm, even fingerless.
Yeah, that's true. Used to wear a lot of merino wool when I hunted. Wick sweat off of you, and even when it got wet, you'd stay warm. Yeah. But I like being dry. If I'm on the water, I like being dry.
100%. Squirrel fishing. I'm thinking about getting a dry suit and getting out there in some real freezing conditions.
I have a buddy. There's one. It's like a wetsuit, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's got the cuffs, the whole nine. Like it like on his neck. Like if he goes in the water, he's like completely dry. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. It's Squirrel lives on Lake St. Clair on the Canadian side. So homie's got like access. He's got access like right there. I know, right?
They're in a wetsuit. You're gonna get one of them suits that they put on when they're crabbing up in
Alaska. Yep. Get soaked. Doesn't matter. You ever do the Utopia Outdoorsman battery heated socks and vest under your shell for the win? All right. I know that's big in like construction. Everyone has those batteries and they wear the jackets and their heated vests. My brother has one. I was like, never tried that for fishing. Sounds amazing.
Yeah. Heated blankets are the ticket too. My wife got me a heated blanket last year. That thing was like life-changing, especially because she has it so cold at night. Completely separate topic, but dude, heated blankets.
Okay.
Yeah. We need to stop the show anytime someone throws up money on the in the chat. I'll ask any question that you post if you put money up there. So here we go. Adam Kopke, thank you so much for the support. I'm so used to fishing mornings and evenings, right? So how does the time of day you choose to fish change in the fall? Rudd?
Interesting. Yeah. I've always said that the shorter the days get, the longer the bot windows get. And so like shorter days equal bass that are more willing to eat more times of the day. Now that being said, I'm going to say that works definitely in early fall. Now, when we get into late fall and water temperatures start to trend down, I always like afternoon sessions, like afternoon to the evening sessions, like when water temperatures are going to be the warmest, when you get the most sunlight, like as water temperatures start to trend down, and then I will follow that trend most of my winter fishing. I can't tell you how many days that like in the dead of winter, I've got to the lake at 11 o'clock and I've done all my work from 11 until dark. You know what I mean? It's just because that's when the water is going to get the most sunlight penetration, going to warm up as much as it's going to warm up throughout the day, get the warmest surface temperatures you're going to see, whatever that may be. Maybe 2, 3, 4 degrees, but you'd be amazed what 2 or 3 or 4 degrees will do to a bass. But yeah, I think shorter the days get, the longer the bite windows get until water temperatures start to trend down. And then I like doing later afternoon sessions.
I like it. Seth, what about you?
Those bait fish also start balling up once the sun comes out, starts warming up a little bit. They'll start balling up a little bit more, and those bass will start chasing, those bait fish in those bait balls. And for Toledo Bend, for example, I just came off that type of bite. So like in the mornings, as the sun's rising, the bait fish are just kind of everywhere. If you look at your graph, look at your forward-facing sonar, it's just everywhere. Now the bass are still swimming all over the place, but once that sun comes up, those bait fish kind of hunch together. They get in those big bait balls and bait lines and all that. And then you start seeing those bass just start pushing them around in different areas. So, the mornings, and you can get a topwater bite a lot easier in the mornings, I feel like, in the fall, because those bass are just all over the place. But yeah, as that sun rises, and if you're on a bait fish bite, if you're chasing that type of bite, sun rises, those bait fish start coming together, then the bass will start pushing them around. You can target those.
And even like bluegill and perch, I've seen, especially in the fall, like they'll just get higher in the column as the day goes on. Like it's really interesting. You'll throw in an area and you'll see like a bunch of things spook off. It's normally just like a pot of bluegill that for whatever reason go and get in like a foot of water and just sit there, and they just like bake themselves in the sun. They like it. The bass take advantage of that too.
Yeah.
Well, Rod, question for you. How's it like being a dad, man?
Love it, dude. Love it. This is one of the greatest things I've ever done. I honestly never knew that I needed a child until I had one. And then I'm like, this is
I do too.
Yeah, this is the greatest thing that I've ever done. Like it is so much fun. Like way more fun than I ever thought that it could be. Like I knew it was going to be fun, but I didn't know it was going to be this fun. You know what I mean? And it's epic. Like I absolutely love it. It is I don't know, man. It's every cliche that you could imagine, plus everything else that you couldn't imagine. I guess is the best way to say it.
What's the thing that's most surprising to you outside of like fun? How old is your boy?
7 months.
7 months. All right.
Is I don't know. I really don't know. I just like seeing the personality of a completely unique human while also seeing all the things from me and Bethany.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just so interesting. Like, and then seeing things too from like other family members. Like, so.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people like know my dad passed away.
Yeah.
And like, I see my dad in certain facial expressions, certain way, raise the eyebrows or say something, or not say something, but like look at me a certain way, or just, it's something like, and it's like, golly, like, whoa, that looked like Kevin Rudd, not Alex Rudd or Bethany Rudd. That looks like Kevin, my dad. And like, it's just really interesting to just see like, it's just really cool. Like, it's like, it's a, own unique human, but there's also a lot of like sprinkles of the, me and Bethany and grandma and grandpa and just all these different things. It's really, really cool. It's funny. I tell people all the time, like we were sitting in the hospital and I think I cried more than Bethany did because like it looks so much like my dad. And like all I could see was my dad. And like I was upset because I wanted to be happy that like my kid was born, but I also was upset because I was like missing my dad. And it was like I like cried for like 3 days straight, like just man cried. But yeah, dude, it's epic, bro. Like so much fun. It's funny. People are like, so you're going to have more? And I'm like, listen, if I had the money, I'd have 20 of these little things. This is awesome. Like, this is great. Get the ball rolling on this. This is awesome. Yeah.
I love it. So ending out the show here, if you guys have a question for Rod, go and throw those in the comment section here, or for Seth or myself. But this is where I usually land the plane. I am really curious, what is on your radar next, right? Any upcoming trips, any projects, big plans for the channel? Maybe it's this fall, maybe it's for like you're already I know like myself, I'm already thinking about 2026, how I'm going to do things a little bit differently to just amplify the channel and so what's going through your mind when I ask you that question?
Right now, actually Thursday of this week, I have been invited to be a part of the first ever black bass management panel for the state of Tennessee. And so
all right, what's that mean?
Well, so the TWA, which is our DNR, has invited a group of anglers from a variety of different disciplines and angles. They've got pros, they've got YouTubers, they've got guides, and we're all going to come together and we're going to essentially sit down and we're going to have several, I think there's 6 of them planned, group meetings to talk about what the future of black bass management looks like for the whole entire state of Tennessee.
This was kind of like what Bailey did down in Texas, right? Similar? Except
that was just the black bass like symposium. Like that was just like the gathering of all the greatest minds in black bass, like conservation and science come together and kind of talk with each other. This is literally going to be sitting down with several stakeholders. It's a stakeholder advisory committee is the actually exact title of it. And we're all stakeholders in the state, and we're going to get together and we're going to essentially give our opinions on what we think black bass management should look like. And then the TWRA will take that information along with other surveys and scientific data, and they will create a whole brand new black bass management plan for the entire state. So our regulations for the entire state of Tennessee, as it pertains to largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, and invasive Alabama spotted bass, will be changed based off our input and the input of scientific data and some other people. And so I'm getting a chance to really, it's flattering really, because I've put a lot of work into like understanding bass science, understanding bass biology, talk to way smarter people than me on my podcast and really learn everything I can. And so now I get a chance to really give my opinion and my input on what I think needs to be done in the state to make bass fishing better for everybody and to help curb invasive species while also just not making drastically stupid decisions that's going to hurt our fisheries. And so it's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah. And
That's
when's that take place?
right now. So
When's that take place?
Thursday.
Oh,
Thursday.
what's right around the corner?
Thursday's the first meeting. We'll end up having 6 of them, I think. Six or 8. I can't remember how many exactly, but the first one starts Thursday. So I'm driving to Nashville, Tennessee, and we're going to sit down and talk about bass fishing.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
Did YouTube ever send you your silver play button yet? Come on.
It's sitting on my desk. I've not even hung it up or anything. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah. It's smaller than I thought it would be.
You know what? That's because they downsized them this past year.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know why they did that. I just
You had to get that done last year. Sorry.
I got it last
year. When I get mine, it'll be like a credit card size by the time I get mine.
Yeah, yours, you won't even get a prize. They'll just be like, congratulations.
No, they're gonna.
Mine will be electronic.
Email. Go. You can buy it here. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you can buy it for $50 if you want
$50.
You know, there it is. 100K. It's kind of crazy. I'm already 103,000, so that's even more nuts. Just hit 100.
Smokes.
I just hit 100,000, and I'm already at 103, almost 104,000 now.
Awesome. And I think what's awesome about that is if you're a creator out there, it's not that you're like you're collecting subscribers. It's the fact that someone took time to be like, hey, yes, I want more of this.
It's crazy.
And that happened 104,000 times. Yep. Yes. Like that went through someone's brain. I want more, please. Yeah. And that's just a huge honor to someone who creates content and teaches. So thank you all for helping make that happen. 2026, Rudd. You thinking out past that far? Like you anything like, hey, you know what? I might do this you might see a little change from Alex Rudd Fishing or tips and tricks or whatever it is, or collabs or this or that. Anything going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I just want to go fishing and have fun. And I want to go fishing and have fun where I want to go fishing and have fun, which is somewhere new. Like I want to adventure a lot this year. I kind of did some stuff last year where I worked with some different, cities and municipalities to like, do content and they would like hook me up with places to stay and stuff like that. And it made for some really cool adventures. And I think my big thing this year is that like me and my wife both have I obviously have, and she has as well, the ability to be very mobile. Like as long as we got an internet connection and a camera and a computer, like I can go do my job. She can go do her job. And I would love to just have places to go and like really dig deep into like some of these places. Like, cause what was really cool is like Michigan this past year, we went to Whitehall, Michigan, and man, like they hooked us up with this cool historic Airbnb that was like 150 years old. Got like food vouchers to all the cool restaurants. And like, it was just so cool to not only be able to go fishing. I mean, obviously that's what it's all about. Go fishing during the day, catch all these fish, go do all these cool fishing experiences. But then in the evening, my mom went with us too. So I grabbed my wife, the baby, and my mom, and we would like go on these cool adventures and go like shop at a shop that has been open since 1901 and talk to the owner and do all this stuff. And I think like this year, I want to do a way better job of capturing not only the fishing experience, but that experience as well. And because it's just cool to me. Like I love history and I love the history of why things are the way that they are and what made it that way. And I want to just do that with more places. And so I've been working on that quite a bit, sending some emails, talking to some people, trying to get some trips planned out. But I definitely want to do more of that. And then I definitely want to go out west this year. Like I've been saying for years, like I want to go out west. I want to go out west. So I'm probably going to look at Bethany at some point, like later in the summer, and be like, all right, we're loading up the car and we're just going to start driving until like maybe we see the West Coast, and we'll just figure it out as we go and just go have fun.
All right. Adventure vlogging.
Yes.
I like it.
I love adventure, bro. I love to adventure. I love to go find new things, do new things, touch things that maybe other people may have not touched yet. And that's like, it's where I find the most joy in what I get to do.
I like it. I like it. Well, folks, thank you so much for listening in tonight. Rudd, thank you for your time. We could go longer. I got a smorgasbord of questions here. However, you still got videos to shoot tonight, and I still have editing to do. And so we're going to close this up and land this plane. But first, one to just always, the people who help make all this possible are companies like Dark Horse Tackle. And so if you haven't checked them out, I've been talking about them for months. They have been a partner of the show. They actually provide a really great product, right? You get a box full of baits that are not the big brand baits, but a lot of love have gone into these because these are the guys making them out of their garage and small businesses. So check out Dark Horse Tackle. I think you will not be disappointed. And also some people we have on deck. I got Fluke Master coming up. We got Yak Attack next week. I'm going to be traveling down to the national championship, so I might be off for a Tuesday or two, and we'll let you know through the socials when those days will be. But Alex, grateful for you. Thank you for bringing your knowledge, your humor, and just for being you. Seth, thank you so much as well. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast. You guys have a good one.